Marcia Week Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. Pleasant good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is the Marcia Week Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados, and we have an exciting topic. Well, two topics that we're dealing with today. Tomorrow is the big day, guys. It's Father's Day. It's Father's Day all around the world. Hi, Steve Moore. Good to see you. Good to see you, Steve. They're from the UK, and we're going to ask you guys to share and let people know that we're on dealing with a very important topic today. So please share, Steve. Those who are on, please share. This morning, guys, we're going to be talking about fathers' rights. Father's rights, and this is a topic for me as a female that is very important. I know that we have a lot of women, we have a lot of stories about men and our children, and as a child myself, I grew up without my father, and so many of us, we carry a lot of residue of bitterness and all kinds of things as a result of that, and sometimes we direct that energy in the wrong place, and when we become parents, we perpetuate that kind of negativity, and the bitterness continues throughout into generations, and a lot of times, guys, that is carried on by us women. But today, this is not a show to bash women. We are celebrating fathers. And so we have with us today Mr. Kammie Holder. And Kammie Holder has been a real, I would say, a forerunner and activist about this kind of issue. Hi, Aaron Hunt. Aaron, where are you watching us from? Mr. Kammie Holder has been, in Barbados at the forefront of this issue, and also Miss Dawn Marie Watson. And they are on with me today. You're going to hear from them a little later. We are also on, as usual, guys, live on 246 Bajan Vibes. Hey, 246 Bajan Vibes Radio, and we have Sugar D, and we're going to be co-hosting today. I'm going to see if technically we can hook up. Hi, good morning, Sugar D. Can you turn on your mic?
Good morning. Yeah. I'm just coming. I'm coming. Give me. Let me see. Where is it? I'm looking for the mouse. There you go.
Yes, it's so good to have you on and co-hosting with you, Sugar D, this morning. And can you hear me? How about if you're watching from 246 Bajan Vibes, give me a shout out, please.
I can hear you loud and clear, Marcia. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful. Well, this is a very important show today, because we are talking about fathers' rights, and saying it's a human right. And Sugar D, I don't even know, are you a dad?
Yes, I am.
You are. Listen, how many children you have? A dozen?
Only if I did. I got two kids. I got two children, a daughter and a son. I'm also a granddad and also a godfather. So I'm serving with the peace.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. But this morning, we want to honor dads, and so we have coming up. We have Dawn Marie Watson and Kammie Holder. and they're going to be talking to us about fathers' right as human rights. And I'm wondering if you have any opening remarks about that, Sugar D.
Father's rights.
Yes.
Now, for me personally, I always said that every day should be Father's Day, and I said it I think on Thursday that it doesn't matter what a father does, that he is still the father of that child. He's legitimately the father of that child, and
Mm-hmm.
he should be afforded the opportunity to see his child. No, I'm saying when I say it doesn't matter what a father does, I'm not saying that if a father is going to molest his child, that he should be afforded the opportunity to see his child. No, he shouldn't be afforded the opportunity. But if he's one of his fathers that are not maintaining the child, then why not grant him permission to see the child, but grant him permission to see the child under a court's ruling. Let that
Mm-hmm.
father still be, let that father still be in that child's life. Now, I grew up as a child not knowing my father, so I could speak about this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I grew up not knowing the first and last time I saw my dad, I was 5 years old. That was the first
Mm-hmm.
and last time I saw my dad. Later in 2000 or whatever year it was, I found out he died in New York. So I never seen my dad. So, if I was afforded the opportunity to see my dad, it will allow me to base my own decisions, and that's where a lot of people fall down. A
Yeah.
lot of people try to poison the children's head about their dads, and I do believe that if you allow your child to see your dad and whatever light he's in, that
Mm-hmm.
child that child will base his or her own decision and decide, you know what, I want to be or I don't want to be.
Right, right. Listen to your opening remarks there, Sugar D. I'm thinking about my own life too, and how that bitterness was passed on from my mom to me about my father. In
Mm,
fact, every time I did something that was terrible, I was told, it's just like my father, whom I didn't
mm,
know. So I didn't
mm-hmm.
know my father's, and then I couldn't even compare. I just thought that he was then, a wicked person, so, because it's whenever I did something bad, then that is, and I didn't know him. And so the just the comparison, and
Mm-hmm.
through the years, every time my father was mentioned, it was to as a curse. Then, it
Yes,
was something
yes.
negative. And so I grew up without my father and thinking that, well, he, as I said, he must be somebody really, really bad. And throughout the years, so much healing I had to go through, counseling, all kinds of things. And so this topic is a very, very dear topic to me. But
I,
yeah, go ahead,
what
Sugar.
what I want to add there as well, a lot of females may it be um the parental guardian who's raising that child. I, they always tend to seem to say that oh, you're going to be just like your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Why do women, or why do the parental guardians always want to thrust that curse into a young boy as well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? I had to fight tooth and nail, physically, mentally, fight tooth and nail. When I keep hearing, "Oh, you're going to be just like your dad,"
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't turn out to be like my dad. Sorry for
Yes.
what I was going to be like my dad. I did not turn
Yes.
out to be like my dad. I'm well educated, right? I am well educated. I got two lovely children and a granddaughter and a goddaughter, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
made sure that they got what I didn't get, and I love them dearly,
Yes, yes,
right?
that's wonderful. I mean, look at this. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day
Thank
in
you.
advance. I know you will have a wonderful day. Well, we have our guests here with us, and we have Kammie Holder, Mr. Kammie Holder, and we have also Dawn Marie Watson. And I know I'm hearing a little feedback there. Yes, I'm getting some feedback, but we're going to move ahead. As we said, the show must go on. So let me start with Mr. Holder. Kammie Holder, you have been, as I said, you've been like at the point, you've been that forerunner, you've been that fighter, And I want to know what got you involved in pushing for fathers' rights.
First, I want to say I'm indeed grateful for this opportunity to share my perspective, as well as to advocate on behalf of men who normally do not have their voice. Now, what really got me started was some personal experiences where it seems that mothers appearing in court in issues related to maintenance or access were always seen as Saint Mary, while fathers were always seen as suspicious and always having to prove their innocence, where the, the disposition or disposition of this taken as gospel, but men always had to prove their worth. And I realized that men were getting no support from the men's organization, one, and two, it was an epic failure also on the male politicians who seem to be all emasculated into silence. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that more females vote than men. And I realized, you know what? Evil can only prayer if good men remain silent. And I decided a crusade to fight on behalf of those men who are going to court and hear, oh, I want to hear from you. Let me hear from the lady. Where men are being referred as, let me hear from you, man. But then women are referred to as madam. And those are sort of issues that really hit me at the core to see that our situation was such that within our matriarchal society, there was epic genocentrism where females were always seen as saints, but men were seen as vagabonds. And I really figured that I had to do something, Marcy, and listen to this.
Sorry about that. You've been definitely leading the charge with that. Let me bring in here Dawn Marie Watson. Good morning, Dawn Marie.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
So good to see you this morning. And I want to just say to you, as a female, I want to thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for showing us another side, because especially women who have been hurt over the years for some reason, we are perpetuating this hurt. And it's good to see you as a woman being honest about it and dealing with the issue. What, as I asked Mr. Holder, what got you involved?
Well, first I want to thank you, Marcia, for having me on the show. One, as the name of our foundation is the Design to Nurture Foundation. So we're not just advocating for men, we're actually advocating for families. But because we see the need for men to be recognized as an important part of the family, we find ourselves more so finding men reaching out. To be honest, in testimony, there's a test. So part of the reason why the foundation was formed is because of personal experience. The other person involved in the foundation is my husband, and he would have gone through some issues with his children before we would have been married. So I would have been upfront in that part and parcel of the whole situation. So I understand the issues, and sometimes you have to be extremely honest with yourself and understand that we are part of it, whether it is being the person who is the target or being the person who perpetrates the actions towards the father. So I don't know. It is something, I think it is, though, part of it is cultural, in that we have been cultured to believe that men are not as important to the family structure. As women, I grew up hearing, oh, you always know who your mother is, but you're never sure who your father is. So, you know, there's a lot of things that have been cultured into women from young. And I think it's at a point in time where we need to change that. We have situations where men are being demonized. We need to change that, because as we've seen, sometimes, you know, women are the ones who actually perpetrate the whole trauma towards the child. And then what happens is, and I'm now speaking from experience, where then you have the fathers pulling away because they understand how they're seen in society, and they pull away. So then, you know, it just starts a cycle. It just really starts a cycle.
Okay, so sorry about that. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing quite well, yes.
A little challenge there. Okay, all right, so we're back on. Seem to have had a little challenge there. Okay, so we're back on. Guys, you know, this is there's an article that I just brought up there, Mr. Holder, where it's talking about men seen as cash cows, and I'm going to try to get that back on the screen. And this was seen in the Nation News, right? In the Nation newspaper. Activist says men use as cash points. I'm sorry, men use as cash points. And just let me read a little bit of it about it. It said too many men are being used for their money and denied access to their children, says founder of Fathers for Justice, Matt O'Connor. And I actually have a special Father's Day message from him. He joined with local advocate Kammie Holder and urged more men who have been dealing with difficult custody arrangements to speak out. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. This was in February of this year.
Yes, it was February. Yes, and Marcia, you know, the thing is that we have a lot of situations in Barbados where that is so much perpetuated, where the custodial parent was mostly seen as the mother, actually always the mother, most instances, just wants the cash, you know. And I'll give you a good example. Now, a lot of fathers are unemployed because of the pandemic. So therefore, they're not working. They are indeed building up court arrears from court-appointed maintenance orders. You hear me, Marcia, and listeners? You hear me?
We're hearing you loud and clear, and clear.
Okay. So these fathers who are under court-ordered maintenance orders are building arrears, are unemployed. And I have heard from fathers saying to me, you know, I'm not working, and my extended family and I have been trying to contribute groceries, school clothing, bus fare, and so forth, only to be told, I want the court appointed, that's all I want. I want no groceries. So if it is not about money, if it is in the best interest of the child, why not take from that non-custodial parent who made the father the groceries, the supporting kind? I go a step further. The government of Barbados have also paid lip service if they really want to speak to the interest of the child. Because support in kind in 2022 should be part of the Maintenance Act, so that a father who is unemployed due to no fault of his or hers, and the non-custodial parent being a mother, should be able to provide support in kind. I've had fathers saying to me, you know what, I've had to do a little something. You know what something is? Sell marijuana or some sort of illegal activity to be able to provide that maintenance. Because you know what? The court is so cluttered and clogged. There are men who are saying to me they're waiting now for court dates for the last 2 years. So it's not a case of a person saying to me, you know what, but the man can go back to court. The main thing, the man building up arrears. And that is the issue Matt wanted to put over, that men are just seen as cash Cash cows.
This is really unfortunate, is what I'm saying. And those that are to know that us as parents, I mean, we're getting a lot of feedback here. There's Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. In the meantime, guys, we ask you to share. Please share the live. Please share the live. I was saying that it is unfortunate, and those that are affected is the children. Let's read a little bit more of what the article says. It says, there is still a false narrative that this is a fair world and men have all the rights and benefits, when it's the opposite. In the UK, the outcomes are worse for men than they are for women. The benefit system supports single mothers, but it doesn't support fathers. And a lot of dads around the world have been reduced to the status of cash points and sperm banks. They're paying for children that you can't see. So I think we need to start a debate about this, not just in the UK, but the Caribbean as well, O'Connor said. The British activist who is currently on vacation in Barbados. Okay, so he was here. This is Matt O'Connor, and he's the founder of Fathers for Justice. And we're going to hear from him a little later in the program. But I want to go to Miss Dawn Marie and ask Miss Dawn Marie, can you comment on some of these points raised by Mr. O'Connor?
Most definitely I can. I am not sure how much you heard of my intro, but part of the intro spoke to the fact that men are demonized and part of it has to do with us men being cultured. And I mean, at the end of the day, we as mothers, we're the ones who are perpetrating this. So we culture our girl children to believe that men are.
1 second, please, Dawn Marie. There is a noise that is on your I'm not sure. It seems like every time I'm not sure where the noise is coming from.
Okay, maybe I should take off my earphone.
Try that and see. Yeah. There is a rustling. So let's we will want to make sure our viewers can hear properly. Continue, please.
You can hear me now?
Okay, we're hearing you. Let me see if we've solved the problem.
Okay, yeah. So what I was saying is basically there is, and we as women, because we're the mothers, we actually perpetrate this with our girl children. And, we make them believe that men are basically functional bank accounts for them. And that translates into, when they get into relationships. So I know I grew up hearing, and not necessarily from my family, but grew up hearing, oh, you always know who your mother is, but you don't ever, you can have more than one father. So, we have situations where women are saying that to men, basically, I don't need you to spend time with the child, or I don't need you to see the child, just make sure that the money is there when the week come or the month come. So, when you get into that, we have to remember that those children then become adults. Yeah. And if these children see that when they are children, then, the importance of a father being there to them will not resonate at all, because this is what they grew up seeing. They grew up seeing their mother just collecting money when the week come. I have situations where there are some fathers who have not seen their child in years, but every week they're paying money to the court. So whatever Matt has said resonates. And to be honest, I will tell you, I probably being myopic, I did not know that these were situations that we were having worldwide. I thought it was a Caribbean thing. That is the truth. But then you get to understand that there are other, so I don't know what it is against men. I wish I knew, but the importance of a man seems not to be there except when it comes to money.
And as he said, also, you know, as a sperm bank. And that is so unfortunate, because there's so much that we're missing. If that's all we see men as, you know, we're missing. There are things that we're missing. And Mr. Holder, what would you say that we're missing? What would you say we're missing? To just see men as sperm banks and cash points, what are we missing in society?
You know, I personally think that is so deep rooted. It is a lack of respect for men. And I think the root of it is women, yes, we're having issues in terms of equality and justice. And we now have decided that we, in order to correct that, have now to emasculate all men. So it's a lack of mutual respect for men. Now, I'm really amazed to see that the emotional abuse of children in Barbados is not taken seriously. When a child is deprived of the opportunity of having a non-custodial parent name on that school registration form, and as I said earlier, most often or not, the non-custodial parent is the father. There is no attendance at PTA meeting. There is no cheering on at sports day by the father. There is no foreign level meeting. And to make matters worse, listeners and Marcia, is that research has also shown that a girl deprived of a male figure in sense of a father growing up will find it difficult to navigate relationships with a male later on in life. That's one. Boys will also have a problem navigating life. And that is why we have a situation where a lot of boys being raised in the absence of fathers by single home parents who are mothers are ending up indoors because there are too many mothers who think that they can raise boys. But you know what? They can't. And our society, until we wrestle with that issue and say to mothers it cannot be accepted, where you can ostracize and erase the fathers from the lives of those children, create dysfunctional children, create emotional abuse, this will not stop. This will be perpetuated for generations to come. And as Dawn Marie said, if you are socializing a child to believe that men are irrelevant and only cash points, it will not change. And I'm going to say something that is very controversial. I am convinced that there is a scam among lawyers who work in Barbados, the maintenance and the access issues, where they perpetuate these issues rather than seek to use mediation to resolve these issues. It is all about money. That's all I would want to say on that. And we need to stop the nonsense of ostracizing fathers in this country.
So you're saying that you believe that there is a scam, and that lawyers are part of that, because we got to tell the truth. This is what you're alleging, that you believe that lawyers are part of this this scam, using the fathers as cash points.
I have no apology. There are some lawyers in Barbados, and I repeat it again. Kammie Holder. I'm convinced that there are some lawyers working within the maintenance or the family courts in this country who perpetuate the emotional abuse of children just to get another payday. Because if mediation was really enforced, a lot of these issues will not happen. I've known of cases for 8 years and father paying maintenance and still not seeing the child. But no, lawyers getting fees. Those things are not right.
There's a feedback that we're getting. Go ahead, Sugar D. You have a question?
Yeah. Yes, a question and basically a statement. I want to agree with Mr. Holder and also disagree with him as well. He said earlier that a woman or a female cannot raise a child. I want to disagree with that. Not wholeheartedly.
No, I never said that. I said cannot act as a father.
Okay. All right, stand corrected. Right, but I still want to agree to disagree with what you said there a little bit, because I know of a lot of females that raise boy children. I being one was raised by a woman. My first kite was made by her. All right, she's not a man, but my first cricket ball playing cricket, teaching me how to make a leather ball in Barbados. She taught me how to do that. Coming to London, and I've been in the presence of women where I see they're raising their boy child, and I mean it was a hard slug. It was a hard slug, but at the end of the day, they got through it. Now, I'm not discrediting what you're saying, because then they've got some weak mothers out there that cannot raise a boy child, right? So I would say some and not all. So that was I agree to disagree. Yeah.
So we can agree on that, to disagree on that, and agree. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Sugar D. Steve Moore is saying that my mother raised 5 boys with no fathers. But I think to jump into this, and I want Dawn Marie to add something to this little, not a debate, but we have a difference of opinion here. Is that I think, I mean, you can raise them, but can we effectively, as women, can we effectively raise these boys by ourselves? I mean, the people are resilient and the boys are resilient, and thank God for people like Sugar D and Steve Moore, where they have come out, and they are in Jamaica. We say they passed the worst, and they didn't just pass the worst, but they have done very well for themselves. When you hear about Sugar D and his accomplishment, and his mom raised him, and Steve Moore, who is such a great contributor to society. But Dawn Marie, do you think women can effectively raise boys in society?
That is a hard one. I mean, we've seen where women do raise boys, and they may be productive within society, but we don't know, because men do not speak. Men are not accustomed to talking about their emotions. They're not accustomed to talking about whatever trauma they would have gone through. I can tell you, for me, I was raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, most of my grandmother. And even though, I was having this conversation yesterday, even though I was raised in a structured home per se with what you would call mother and father, there was still that longing for me, for my mother and my father. And I know other people who have been like, who have gone through that. They might go through the day saying, okay, so it didn't bother me whether my mother was there or my father was there. But over time, there's still always that longing as a child, questions that you may ask yourself. You may go ahead functioning in your day-to-day, but there's still that residual emotional attachment and emotional trauma that some of us go through, because, that the father or mother wasn't there for them. I will tell you though, and I guess you guys can figure out where I'm going with this one. There's something that an older person said to me, and I really had to think about it. And it's a bit of a story. So there was this gentleman, and he had 2 sons. The gentleman was a drunkard. Mm-hmm. The 2 sons, one of them grew up to be a drunkard. The other one grew up to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. Raised in the same home, had the same opportunities. They asked the drunkard son, why did you become a drunkard? Because my father is a drunkard. They asked the doctor, why did you become a doctor? Because my father is a drunkard. You see, both of them, the same answer, but it is the perspective. Both of them had completely different perspective. One became a drunkard because he felt that was it was okay for his dad, so it can be okay for me. Another one became a doctor because he saw and recognized that there was a problem that his father had. And, he wanted to go into a field that he felt he could also solve, yet probably be able to solve the problem, understand the problem. So this is what is happening in our society today. We have mothers who have raised boys and felt that, they've done a good enough job. But then you may, and you will have a boy then who will say, okay, so I don't have a problem with not being there for my child because, the mother can do it fine. My mother did it. But then you will have another boy who will say it is definitely important for me. I understand the importance of me being there for my child. And I think that's how we need to look at it. We need to look at each case, we need to look at each individual case and understand where a person is coming from. And I think that's not what we're doing. We need to understand the importance of family and the structure of family, but each individual case, because I'm not going to tell a woman who is in an abusive relationship with a man to continue to be in that type of relationship just because your child needs a father. No way. But if you have a man who is who your relationship with him has broken down, but you recognize that at the end of the day, the only issue that you guys have is the fact that your relationship has broken down, then don't deny him being a part of that child's life just because you're going through these emotional states. Don't. And that is what we're trying to get to. That's the point that we're trying to get to.
Powerful, very powerful, Dawn Marie, and it's good to hear that coming from a woman. And then the other thing is, don't make up allegations or don't make up accusations. It was just that the man had a woman. You as in Jamaica, Bajan, let's be brawling. They say you get a horn, right? That's all that happened. So don't use that now because you are hurt. Right? You're a woman that is hurt and a woman scorned, then you're going to make up sexual abuse allegations. You're going to call him a thief. You're going to call all kinds of things that that once you throw those things out, there is no way he's going to see the child. But you want to get back. You want to get back at this man because you got a horn, as they would say, right? So you are not going to throw everything, the baby and the bath water, the kitchen sink at him, right? I see Sugar D is ready to speak. Go ahead, Sugar D.
I'm just in awe of what you're saying because you hear things like, as I said earlier, you're going to be just like your dad. But I want to correct you there when you said my mom. My mom didn't raise me. I wasn't raised by my mom. I was raised by my aunt. I was actually given to my grandmother at 2.5 months old. Then my grandmother gave me to my aunt at 2.5 years old. I was raised by my aunt from 2.5 years old till I became a very 18-year-old teenager, right? So and that's when I came to London. So what you're saying there as well, I am in awe of it because there are, and I am living one of the living testaments. As I told you, I got 2 children. I got a granddaughter and I got a goddaughter. My daughter is 30. My son will be 30 in September. And my children mom, my daughter born, then my son born in September, and then I don't want you to have nothing to do with kids. You're this, you're that, you're a woman, and all these what come. You're a womanizer. Well, I used to laugh and said to her, well, I might be a womanizer, but there's only 2 children I got in my life. Do you want me to be a manizer? And that will shut her up, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter, to this day, I mean, she pretends to be my mom, but my daughter to this day, sometimes she throws words back at me. But my son, he is now coming back to me and said, Dad, you know what? I'm sorry. I took everything mom said against you and I held it against you. I'm sorry. I want to be strong just like you. I said, son, I am here. I am here and I'll always be here. Right? right? So I want the men out there to know. That's what I said earlier. Remember, Marcia, I said earlier that the things that a parent, a woman parent, or a guardian say to their children sometimes make them or break them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if the women out there says to their children, especially a boy child, you can be just like your father. The guy don't know what his father was like. He's going to go there and try to be like whatever his father was.
Correct.
And then it's going to be hell on earth.
Yeah, or sometimes what you perceive, like in my case, it's only when I did something bad I was told that I'm like my father. I didn't know my father, so then therefore it's my perception of what my father is, because I didn't know him. You see, we have a comment here, guys, from Jace Giles. I don't know where Jace, where you are watching from. Jace is saying many general have been by many general have been ridiculed by the justice system, by vindictive women in society, by laws perceiving women not capable of doing evil deeds. This is loaded, and as a woman, you know, we have to, in Jamaica, we say we got to split the difference. Speak the truth. Let's be honest, guys. We can't decide because we were personally wronged by this gentleman, by this male figure, you know, that we are now going to become vindictive against them and hold the children, you know, as ransom, or as, you know, as a way to get back to the parents. Sonia Perch, hi Sonia. Sonia Perch is saying, in my case, my father told my mother when she was pregnant with me that I was not his child, even though he had two children who he owned as his. So that's part of the problem too. You know, this is so complex. So isn't it, guys? Very, very complex. And Sonia is asking the question, what if a father dies and that mother has to raise the children all alone? Those are real, you know, real issues, you know, Mr. Holder. Those are real issues. And I want you to comment on this and some of the other things that we're hearing out here. Valerie Suzette is saying children are used as emotional collateral and weapons by both mothers and fathers. Mr. Holder, can you comment on that while I prepare the message from Matthew McConnell?
Yes, I can. You know, and the best way to me to address that is to speak to this here. I know of a gentleman in Barbados who for 8 years was erased from the life of his child because he moved on and a malicious allegation that he inappropriately touched his daughter. For 8 years, he was charged. He was charged. And for 8 years, had no relationship with his child. You can imagine the trauma. Our society is very deceitful, you know. It's said society that sees that a father, very seldom are courts giving fathers the ability to raise daughters, you know, as single parents, you know. But yet, we will squabble, right? When just to justify that mothers can raise boy children. I'm saying that if you have 5% doing an excellent job and the other 95% doing a horrible job, the figures at odds is not complementary. And that's all I'm saying. I am not saying that mothers cannot raise boy children, because if a father is dying, she will be the sole parent. What I am saying that we should have proper parenting and shared parenting. It is not happening in this country. You have situations again in this country where fathers are absent. But where they're absent, there are situations where the father decides to remove himself to maintain his sanity and to maintain peace so that no malicious allegations can be made. Yes, they're delinquent fathers, but who is socializing these boys? Not to one, respect the children's mothers, or to be responsible. Again, it is the same single home parents where the fathers are absent. And we must understand that we are not saying that mothers don't have a role to play. We are saying, or I am saying, or I'm advocating for fairness, justice, equality, shared parenting, and co-parenting. That is what we need to be all about.
Very, very well said. Let's hear from Mr. Matthew McConnell, and he sent a Father's Day message to us. Let's hear what he has to say. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to ask you to share. This is important, a very important show. And I think that as we are going to be celebrating Father's Day, these are some of the issues that we really need to think about.
Hi, my name is Matt O'Connor, and it's great speaking to Marcia Weeks, host of the Marcia Weeks show, and to talk about Father's Day 2022 and what that means for Asian dads and the efforts they're making to try and see their children. I was in Barbados recently. I had the pleasure to meet the amazing Kammie Holder, who is doing a Herculean task in Barbados of raising the issue of why Asian dads are equal parenting rights. What we want to see in Barbados is Barbados leading the way in the Caribbean with progressive policies to introduce 50-50 shared care for dads that gives them the same parenting rights as mothers. Today in Barbados, too many dads are being denied the opportunity to spend more time with their children and be more involved with their lives. Many Asian dads, for example, want to know how their children are doing at school, but they're denied basic rights to the information to know what is happening to their kids. And what we need, myself and Kammie want to see, Marcia, is a debate in Barbados, a debate in Jamaica, a debate in St. Lucia, a debate in Antigua, right across the Caribbean about what the role of fathers is and how do we stop the global pandemic of fatherlessness happening in the Caribbean. And I know there are some outdated stereotypes that many people say some dads don't care, some dads are irresponsible, some dads don't want to see their children. Let me tell you that this is an outdated, sexist, stereotypical myth about men across the world who have been portrayed since the 1980s as deadbeats, as failed, feckless fathers. I am sick and tired of having to stand up and say to people, look, the majority of dads are good, caring, loving parents who want to fulfill our responsibilities to our children. And that means emotional support as well as financial support. Child support is just not about the money. Let's stop demonising dads as sperm banks and cash points. Dads are loving dads, caring dads who want to be involved in the lives of their children. And what I'd like to see in Barbados is a referendum on equal rights for fathers. Barbados recently became a republic. I think Barbados could lead the way. We could have a minister for men looking at the social issues and deprivation factors affecting single fathers in Barbados. But it's important that what we're doing here is to try and get better outcomes for our children, better outcomes for our families, and better outcomes for Barbados. And that's what we need to be doing. In terms of the general issues around the world, I think that the message that I am sending this Father's Day to Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, is that 20 years ago, this Father's Day, I thought I'd never see my children again. I was trapped in the devil's labyrinth is our secretive family justice system. But I was lucky. I was one of thousands of dads who survived a cruel, immoral and unconscionable separation of children and dads for no good reason. So let's not forget fathers this Father's Day. Let's not forget the paternal families who can support our children. Let's not forget the grandparents who go through double the heartbreak for their children and the grandchildren that they cannot see. Let's shatter the old lazy sexist stereotypes that mean women must be chained to the sink and their children at home. Stop it. We need the government to commit to 50-50 shared parenting to demonstrate the best parent of the child, both parents, and to free mothers from the kitchen sink and allow them to pursue their careers, to start businesses, and like Rihanna, to follow their dreams. It's not much to ask. I am lucky. I will spend this special day with my 3 boys who will become successful young men. We want a Father's Day, though, that we can celebrate around the world. Not a toxic legacy, but more fatherless days. Loving dads around the world and in Barbados and their children deserve nothing less. God bless and thank you.
Wow, very, very powerful and heartfelt. And that is Matthew McConnell, and he is the president for Fathers for Justice. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. And we're so happy that he was able to make this, this contribution to this discussion today. And I want to ask, Dawn Marie, what role, he talked a lot about the role of the government and the legal system and so on, and having some changes there. What are your thoughts about that, Dawn Marie?
I think I don't want to say the government, but magistrates, I think, try to do the best that they can. But at the end of the day, I don't think the system is working, in that I don't believe that the place to have these types of situations where mother and father and child is within the normal magistrate's court setting. You have men and women who are going to court. The magistrate may, and I mean, this is something that I've seen live. The magistrate may have dealt with another matter, and this is a criminal matter. So the first thing first, you have fathers going to court as though they're criminals. They're seen as criminals. That's one of the first problems that we have. You have magistrates then who are dealing with other situations on any given day. So all the matters that may not be lumped together necessarily being custodial matters. I've seen people outside of the court and they're visiting, when somebody come out the court, how the magistrate looking today, what mood you feel he in. And this is something real. So if you're saying that, the way that something is adjudicated depends on the mood that a magistrate is in, then it really does not say much. I would like to see, and that is where the Design to Nurture Foundation comes in, because what we're attempting to do is, one, we're hoping to be able to raise funds to have a safe space for where men can come and spend time with their children. And I will get into that, into why that is necessary later. But the other thing is that we're also playing the part of mediators. I think a lawyer is not necessarily, yes, a lawyer is part of a lawyer's role is mediation, but I don't think that they're set out to be mediators. I don't think that they're functioning.
Okay, we seem to have we seem to have lost her there, but I know she's going to come right back in. Mr. Holder, we only have about 6 minutes left, and so I want you to share your thoughts with us while you're doing that. Okay, I think she's coming right back in, but go ahead, Mr. Holder, until she comes back in.
Okay, I want to share something with the listeners also. The first suicide for 2022, the sister of the victim appeared in papers and said one of the issues the guy was faced was denied access to his child. the family structure as we know it in Barbados, especially within the low-income brackets, is broken. And unless we have shared and co-parenting, then accepted, and these issues being removed from the court system. And the reason why I'm saying removed from the court system is that the courts are places of adversary. They're very adversarial, where each lawyer is looking for blood. Everybody want brownie points. And I'm saying the way for these things should be mediation. So when you ask what role the government can play, the government needs not to separate a family court, because a family court is just kicking it down the ball. Now there's issue of clogging, where there are a lot of cases being long overdue, where rulings long overdue for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So is the system of having mediation possibly would help. And that's what I would like to see, as well as the whole idea of supporting kind being a tool or a measure that any father who is, or mother is not working as a non-custodial parent can provide supporting kind rather than cash.
So that's really really very interesting there, Mr. Holder. And you know, this is a show, I know we only have an hour right now, because we're going to be going to Mr. Colin Roach in another 4 minutes, as he talks about the protest that that is set to be on the way very soon. And so, you know, there's some issues in government that he wants to lead a protest on, and he's going to be coming up very soon. But you know, Dawn Marie, I think that Mr. Roach, I think that this is an issue that I personally would love to be able to have a show on, you know, to continue this discussion, because we need to make the connection with what's happening there at GIS, and what is happening with our boys at Dodds. We're seeing a new case now where one of the wards, or two of the wards, are being charged for you know, for something that occurred there at GIS, you know, with one of the staff members. It's unfortunate that we didn't see any staff members being charged for what has happened to the wards. But you know, this is a situation that is very volatile, and at any minute, you know, all kinds, it just keeps erupting like a volcano. Really. So, you know, this is something I think, you know, Dawn, as we look at what is happening with our fathers and this one-side parenting, you know, can you, I know you were saying something a little before you got bumped off.
Yeah. But for some reason, Giselle is not cooperating with me today at all.
Yes, but can you just take 1 minute to complete what you were saying, and if you have anything to contribute to this GIS situation before we close?
Yeah. So basically what I was saying is that part of what our foundation, one of the goals that our foundation has, is creating a safe space for men where they're able to spend time with their children. And that would have come out of one of the excuses that a lot of women give is, okay, I don't want my child around, especially if the man has moved on. I don't want the child around your girlfriend or your wife or whoever. They, you know, if the relationship has also broken down, there is the extended family. Oh, your mother is a so-and-so and this and this, and she can only poison, you know. So one of the things that I think is important that we can eliminate that is having a safe space where men are able to come and spend time with their children. That would also eliminate men being able to have that bond with their child as well too. And then, only then, if you recognize that a man is refusing or a woman is refusing to cooperate, then you're able then to understand the situation has absolutely nothing then to do with the child. It is you and your personal emotion. That is one. The other thing is, I think mediation is a necessity. What we also do at our foundation is try to mediate. And if I have time, I can give you just a little story. I would have been part of, somebody called me and said to me, look, newly married, child just came. Her wife and I have had an issue, and she's not allowing me to see. She put me out and is not allowing me to see the child. I then said, you know, well, what can I do? I picked up the phone. I called the lady. Lady didn't know me from Adam. I said, after a long conversation, I said, look, would you allow me to come for the child on weekend? Just so until you guys sort out your thing, but at least let him be able to see the child. And she said, okay. So from that, you know, and I went for the boy, and for like a month or so, I had the boy every weekend. The father came, he spent time with the boy, and he was able to, you know, build that bond. While the both of them then cooled off, then they were able then to move over to a situation where they're then able to speak to one another, you know, and go from there. So then they were able then to come up with a situation where the necessity for me, there wasn't a necessity for me, but at least the child then became the winner because they were able to put their differences aside. And I think that's what we need to understand. This has nothing to do with man and woman. At the end of the day, there had to have been some sort of connection between you two because you got together and a child came out of the situation. Be mature enough to put your differences aside and understand that now that a child is in the midst, it is no longer you. It is no longer me. The important one in that scenario and in that situation is the child. So put your emotions aside. For the life of me, I cannot understand how a woman, and I am talking to women now, you know, you have no problem having your child build a bond with the other man in your life. But you have a problem with the child building a bond with their own father. That is ridiculous. It is ridiculous and it is selfish. And we need to move away from that. We as women need to be mature enough to stop looking at men as just being, as Matt O'Connor said, cash point. And regardless of if a man can fulfill his monetary obligation, we still need to be able to nurture that bond between father and child until he recognizes that, you know what, it is not just a child cannot live on just love alone. A child needs to also be financially supported. So, I mean, everybody doesn't get it at the same time. But we as women need to stop being stumbling blocks. We need to be the mature one. Then a child, when a child grows up, at some point it will recognize, oh, my father is either useless or regardless of whether my father was able to, he did what he could and he was there for me. Let the child decide.
Wow. Powerful. This is a powerful note, Mr. Holder, for us to end on today. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I'm feeling a fire in my belly every time this woman talks. Every time Mr. Holder, I could feel the passion. You want to deal with the DOTS and GIS issue. And I want to have a show. I would love, you know, Sugar D, we need to have a series on this issue. Because once we can deal with this fatherlessness and the one parenting, paradigm, I think that we can truly change some things in the society in Barbados. I want to thank Dawn Marie from the Design to Nurture Foundation, and who has a goal to seek to function as advocates. And they offer unbiased child visitation and mediation services and solutions. You heard a beautiful story she just shared. Wasn't that awesome? They solved something, you know, Mr. Holder, and I think I love it. And we've got to, this is in my belly, guys, and we've got to do this. And, you know, sorry, we're going to have to break here. Mr. Holder, thank you so much for putting this show together. Thank you, Mr. Matthew McConnell, for sending that beautiful tribute to fathers. And Mr. Holder, you did a great job, as I said, putting this together. And we're going to continue this. So listen out for me. We need a movie on this. We need to do a movie on this. You know, I think people would love this because this is important. This is important. And I think Sugar D, 246 Bajan Vibes, we're going to come together and we're going to do something on this. Go ahead, Sugar D.
Yes, I want to say to Mr. Holder, congratulations and keep up the good fight. And also the young lady as well, keep up the good fight. I do know that a lot of people think that we are doing negatives, but out of everything that is negative, there's a positive to come. So don't give up. We're gonna keep this fight. We're gonna keep that fight going on. And I just let you know, Marcia, that I just was told that there was a power outage in some local area. So I believe that that's why the young lady had a internet failure just now. The internet just came back on.
Ah, I see.
This is coming forward from London. London to Barbados, from Barbados to London, back to Barbados.
Sugar D is in London, right? 246 Bajan Vibes, broadcasting from UK, and we are so happy to be on part of that family. Thank you guys for coming on, and we will see you next time. Listen out for me, Mr. Holder. Keep up the good work, and Don Marie, keep going as Wayne Hoyt is saying, good going down, Don Marie. Keep the fight going. God bless you. Love you all. Bye-bye. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And listen, guys, this show continues, and we're seeing here Mr. Colin Roach live and in color. Say something to us, Mr. Roach.
Pleasant day to each and everyone. Pleasant day to each and everyone.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It is good to have you here, Mr. Roach, and the fight continues because here you are planning this protest, and I know people are waiting on you to come on, and we are hoping that people are going to come on. I'm going to put the link in this in the comment section, the link to the show, and we're going to have people coming on. But Mr. Roach, can you jump right in there and tell us what is it you want to protest about here in Barbados? What is bothering you, Mr. Roach?
Okay. Well, first I want to commend you and Sugar D from 246 Bajan Voice Radio, Emmanuel as well, for keeping these shows going and bringing the awareness to the people. It's very important. I have been working as an agent for a number of private citizens in Barbados. Sometimes I would get calls from overseas to do work for Barbadians abroad. And for the past 10 years that I've been doing this, there's this consistent, inconsistent behavior at some of the public service offices. One of the primary offices is the Supreme Court Registration Office. That office, they have a number of agents that work there. Some of the agents are good agents. They are proactive agents. I wouldn't call names, but they are there. If you go into the registration office to do business, you would see for yourselves, who these individuals would be, depending on how often you go into the registration office. The problem that I'm having is that the registrar's office for the registration office, that office, in my view, they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing where members of the public is concerned. I myself have about 10 complaints at that registration office. None of them have ever been answered.
But here's a question. You said you're not mentioning the office. Why? Because it's the truth. You said you're not mentioning the office, but why not? Because the truth is...
No, I'm not mentioning names of agents.
Names of the people. No, not the agent.
Right. Okay.
But what is this office that you went to? Well, did you go to...
The Supreme Court Registration Office.
The Supreme Court. Okay, got you.
The Supreme Court Registration Office. Yes?
Yes.
As you would know, the Supreme Court Registration Office is there to record documents. You can record a letter. You can record anything you want at the Supreme Court Registration Office. But it also has a number of other divisions You have areas where you would go to get marriage certificates, birth certificates, death certificates. Areas where you go and you register children. You also have on the third floor, you have the documents clerks area where you would file civil applications and stuff like that. You have the estate area where you would file for letters of administration, letters testamentary, etc. So a lot of things goes on inside the Supreme Court registration complex, the Supreme Court complex, period. The operation is my problem.
Yes.
The operation is poor. Okay. And successive registrars since Marva Clark. Now, when I first started, there was this lady at the time, a registrar by the name of Marva Clark. She was a pretty firm and sturdy person, yes. But in my opinion, she actually paid attention to the operation, to what happens, okay. And she was firm on both the agents as well as certain members of the public who might come into the building and might want to misbehave or whatever the case may be. So for me, she was fairly balanced for the little time that I knew her. But ever since then, successive registrars have come into that office acting, and they have not made any changes significant, especially where private citizens are concerned. Okay, now I know individuals personally that have issues, for example, like an estate files. You have estate files that you were able to go into the Supreme Court registration office, request them, that you can view them. And now some of these files are no longer in the system.
What do you mean they're no longer in the system?
No longer in the system. Look,
so these estate files. Are these the estate of private citizens?
Correct.
So why would they,
go ahead.
Why wouldn't they be why would they be missing?
Okay. Now, some of these files have, because those files are normally called non-contentious files. Estate matters are primarily non-contentious. They are governed under the Succession Act of Barbados and the non-contentious probate rules. But they can become contentious if someone challenges one of the files, any of the estate files. And then that has to go to the civil court. So there are cases where some estate matters end up at civil court. Okay. And there's a particular, there are a number of cases, but there's a particular case that I personally had to be involved in as power of attorney. Now, I do not normally operate without the document called power of attorney or letters of authorization from the client.
Right.
So that I could show and that I would not get any hindrance. Or that client would have to be with me and speak those words to who we are before, to let them know this person is my agent and this person will be speaking on my behalf in my presence or not in my presence. Right? Okay. And one of these files, I went into the system, I pulled up that file more than once to gather information, but now all of a sudden, I can't find this file. It's not in the system anymore. Because it is because a part of that matter has now gone to the High Court. Now, the person that actually, the client to that actual file, that person can speak about it if they choose to. Yes, that person can speak about it if they choose to. And I don't want to mention that person's name. That person can actually come on if they want, because I also sent out the broadcast for the show and so on. Anyone who has any issues like that could come on the show, you know, identify themselves.
So hold a minute. I'm still at this. So because, you know, Sugar D, you heard what he's saying?
Yes, I heard what he's. Yes, I heard what he's saying, and I was about to ask. I was about to make a statement of. I personally think that the issue is not with the register, but the people that work within the organization. I do believe that they become too complacent. And Mr. Roach, was a bit younger than me, but he would know that growing up in Barbados, as soon as you get a government job, you think that you've got it made and you're in there for life. And I think that these people get too complacent and there's nothing that they think that they can't be moved or nothing anybody can do. Mr. Roach is hitting the nail on the head right with a sledgehammer to say that things are not right in Barbados. Things weren't right in Barbados for a good number of years. I born and grew up in Barbados, and sometimes you go into any government office. I can mention one, MTW. Last 2015, I went to MTW to do some business. Man, he wasn't supposed to be at lunch because I got there about 10:30. And the man sit down in the office, in MTW office, eating, chomping away, you know. And I said to him, "Excuse me, can you see me here? Well, I have my lunch, you go away." I just said to him, "Are you an idiot? You are on a government job. You're not supposed to be at lunch. You're eating your lunch." And I just come to hand in one document, and you can tell me in that abrupt term, "I have my lunch, you go away." The problem is not. The problem is not with. Hold on a minute, Mr. Red. The problem is not with the institution, but the problem is with the people that work in it. They need educating for customer relationship. Go ahead, Mr. Roach.
Well, Sugar D, yes. But you see, here's the thing too, right? Obviously, when we say that there's a problem at any of these offices, be it private or public, clearly we're not talking about the fictitious entity of itself. We are speaking about flesh and blood people, individuals. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? And yes. I maintain this. What I am about to say, I maintain it because I was in that position. I lived in the States for 17 years. And I was fortunate to be working in corporate America. I was a corporate supervisor at a company called 1-800-Flowers.com on Long Island, Nassau County. And I used to control a corporate division with agents. And on that floor, there were like 5 other sections. It was a big call center. And one of the things that I learned for myself leading is that the actions of the subordinates, the reflection of who sits at the top.
Correct.
Okay. More than once, I had great relations with the agents that I had to oversee. But between the working hours, there was a demarcation line between myself and them. We on the job has a policy. You have to follow that policy. If you cannot follow that policy and you satisfy the grievance process of people having to talk to you and then having to write you up and stuff like that, well, then you have to go. So the person that sits at the top right now, my concern is that for the past 10, 12 years, the registrar of the Supreme Court Registration Office, in my opinion, that person, they're not doing the job that they're supposed to do, where the facilitation of the needs of the private citizens or certain private citizens are concerned. Because certain individuals could go into the Supreme Court Registration Office and everything is okay. But then when an individual like myself, who they see as nothing, or a good friend of mine by the name of Valerie Suzette, or her husband, or any of those individuals go, then there's a problem. I had to fight to get recognition in there. I mean, I had to really fight.
So the question I want to ask is, you mentioned that in what capacity are you working on behalf of these people, and why wouldn't they, if you are authorized to do it, why wouldn't they give you the recognition? So what's your title? What's your in what capacity do you operate on behalf of these people?
I work as an agent. For example, a person might call me and say, "Pleasant day, Mr. Roach. My name is such and such. Someone introduced you to me. I need a job done. I need to file for an estate." And I would say to that person, "Okay, let me have your name, address, contact information. I would prepare a letter of authorization so that you can take it to a justice peace, have it signed, where it is that you gave me the authorization to do this job for you.
So you are legal aid, or you provide, or
No,
you what,
no, I just work as
as
an
an
agent
agent?
for any person who wants work like that done. If they want to
Mhm.
file for divorce applications, if they want conveyances drawn up, stuff like that, that is the work that I do
I
as a
understand. I
document draft
understand.
person.
And so you're saying in your capacity as agent,
Mm-hmm.
once the case has gone to the high court, that
Mm-hmm.
you no longer have access to the estate files.
All right, now let me correct that. What I am saying is not that I personally do not have no longer have access to the files. I am saying there are a number of people like myself that have issues, and one of those issues is access to their files. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the files that we somehow seem not to be having access to happens to be a file that I was working on just briefly for a client. I
Ah.
went right. I went into the registration office, went upstairs, I put in the file number and the name of the estate person that passed away, hit enter. I got the information. I took down what I needed. I passed it on to my client legally. Yes, I did it more than once. But
Mm-hmm.
that same file has a contention to it. So it was taken to the high courts, the civil courts.
Mm-hmm.
With it being at the civil courts, I then was asked then to go back to the court, pull up the file to gather some further information. And when I went to pull the file, it was not there.
So
2 days had
my
passed.
question, hold a minute. Is that what by law what is supposed to happen? Because we want to make sure we're what we're saying here. Is it
Mm,
abnormal? Is it an abnormal thing for the file to no longer be accessed, or is it by law that once it goes to another court, then nobody will be able to access the file?
no, yeah, that's a great question. It's a public record. And so the public has access to it, period. The only way that you do not get access to a public file is if an order comes down from the court that file cannot be available to the public like that. But they have to have a reason, because public matters concern the public, and we
Ah.
are allowed to see all, period. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you don't get to see anything that is public is if a court order is established that the public at this point in time, for reasons like security reasons or whatever, we would not be able to have it in the public domain like
And
that.
those reasons have not been communicated
No,
to the client or to the public.
no, correct. In this case that I'm speaking to you about, nothing of the sort have been established to the client. Okay. And so that's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. And
Because
it's issues like this. I want to make it clear, because I know I'm cutting you off for a reason,
no
because of
problem.
the average person that's listening, they need to understand what this protest is about, because
Yes.
you're saying
Mhm.
that there are others there, not just your particular client, but you are
That's right.
hearing of
That's right.
other persons within the public that are their estate files are missing, and the
Correct.
public doesn't know and the client doesn't know. If there's anybody who's watching and you are aware of anything like this, any kind of issues like this, and you want to come on, I actually have placing a link in the chat, and you can use that link and come on and tell us your story. It is, if this is happening to you, or you know somebody that their estate files have just gone mysteriously missing without any information given to the public, or you, the client, if it's you, can you come on and share about this? Because that's one of the reasons that Mr. Colin Roach is staging this protest. Continue, Mr. Roach.
Right. I want to go further. Um, we have issues because, again, my major concern is that the Supreme Court registrar the person that sits in that seat. I am saying we are not hearing anything from that individual. Now, the registrar is a title. So there are a number of individuals that may necessarily sit in that seat at a given time. So we are unable to pin it down to a specific individual.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But what we would have to do, which this is what I'm calling for now. What I'm calling for now is now for us now to have a demonstration or protest lawfully and legally. Right now, we need to hear from the person who is the registrar. You understand? We need to be able to speak to that person because we have not been hearing from that person. I have clients that have issues in the courts where, for example, magistrates are allegedly manipulating situations in the courts and causing frustrations to some of those claimants or plaintiffs. And I told those individuals, you guys need to come and put that out there. You have to expose that. I could only make it be known. I could only, make people aware that these are the issues that we have. But the individuals themselves that have these separate matters, they need to come out and speak about it and expose it. You have judges manipulating matters as well. Now, I can attest to one specifically because I was involved in the case. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, again, we are not hearing from the registrar's office.
Right. Okay. So
you understand?
You need the registrar to give some kind of clarity here on what is happening, and that too is part of why you're protesting.
There are too many complaints, and the registrar of the Supreme Court Registration Office, we're not hearing from that registrar. Well, what are you going to do about these grievances that members of the public have? You come into the registration office 2 weeks ago. I went into the registration office, and it was about 23 minutes after 3 o'clock. And one of the security officers said to me, "The registration office is closed." I says, "Well, why?" They say policy. I says, "Policy?" I says, "Well, let me speak to the registrar." And the security officer tell me, "No, I can't speak to the registrar." I says, "What?" I says, "Listen, you are not in a position to tell me that I can't speak to the registrar. What you should do is to see if the registrar is available, that I can speak to the registrar. You are a public service officer, and the registrar is the public service officer, and you are not in a position to tell me I cannot see the Supreme Court." These are the things, the issues that we have. The public service office, the Ministry of Public Service, they issued a letter. It's a memorandum.
Yeah,
I have it in my folder about the restrictive dress code policy that they have. Now, again, that is something that I too had to fight, and get, I'm a marked person at the Supreme Court Registration Office, but I don't worry about that. I don't worry about that, and so the registrar is not making sure that these things are actually carried out. People still come into the registration office and they still cannot get in because they have an earring in their ear, even though they dress decent. You have some attorneys that are really making bad for other attorneys. Okay? Because I can tell you, there are credible, ethical, moral attorneys at law in Barbados. Okay? And there are many, no good. But we are still not hearing the registrar speaking on these matters.
And that's the essence, really.
This is the
One
essence.
of the foundational reasons why the protest is.
Yes.
My concern, I'm hearing when Hoyt is saying here, I can attest to the report of missing files.
Right.
The thing is that I know you can correct me, Bay Johnson, kill me, but I know with these things, Sugar D, you will get all riled up about it and say you're going to protest, right? Because so many people are being affected, and you go out there, and listen, it's you alone. Now if your family come to join you, because people
Mhm.
don't want to speak up. People
Yeah.
don't want to, Sugar D, what are your thoughts about that?
You're so true. You're so right there, Marcia. I call this um, closet the closet mentality. I need Barbados to get out the closet mentality. All right. I need you all to stand up for something. I need you all to actually start voicing your opinions and let the people know, as Mr. Roach saying, let these people know that you stand for something and you have a right. I wanna tackle Mr. Roach about this earring. Because I mean, living in London, you go into any government office, you go into any government office, and Mr. Roach live in New York, you go into any courts, you're wearing earring in the ear.
Yes.
So what makes Barbadians or Barbados court so special that you can't wear earring in your ear, or you can't go as long as you look clean and decent? What's the problem?
You see, what happened is now, as you would know, Sugar D, because you're born here and everything, and you raised
Mm-hmm.
here before you went away.
Yeah.
Mistress Weeks, you probably have been here for a lot of years. We have to be familiar with the society that we were raised up
Listen,
in.
I've been here over 20 years, and I remember going to an office there, the Ministry of Culture, and
Uh-huh.
I was very well dressed. It's just that I didn't have any sleeves on my shirt. And I tell you, Sugar D and Mr. Roach, I literally, I had a meeting to see the minister, about a film that I was doing. And
Yeah.
I had to go there in Sky Mall and spend, I think it was either $120 to go buy a top.
Yeah.
I had to buy a top to go into this meeting.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. I know, I
Yes.
think they've changed some of that, but go ahead, Mr. Roach.
Well, that's the issue with the memorandum letter that the Ministry of Public Service has sent out. Okay, because the way how we were raised in the West Indies period, Jamaica the same way. Okay, the way how we were raised in the West Indies, we were raised. They are saying to us that they were teaching us how to respect, but I think that it is more fear than anything else.
Agree with you.
Because you become a man and a woman at 30, 35 years old, and you're frightened to talk to the police, you're frightened to talk to the judge, you're frightened to talk to the magistrate, you're frightened to talk to the judge,
Mm-hmm.
you're frightened to talk to the nurse, you're frightened to talk to the pharmacist, you're frightened to talk to the teacher. It's ridiculous. So I lived overseas for a minute, and I realized, okay, there needs to be a change. Okay, as long as you have not broken the law, and that is the fight that I had to fight. I had to maintain it. Call the police. If I have broken the law, then I will have to leave the registration office. But if I have not broken the law, then I need to get in here to do my business. And if you continue to hinder me from doing my business, I can take you to high court for impeding my progress.
Mhm.
These are things that many of us don't know. I learned
Mm-hmm.
these things overseas. Not that I could not learn them here. It just so happens that I was overseas when I became aware
Yeah,
of these
correct.
things. So
Mhm.
I'm going to mention something now that I never mentioned before, only in close circles. I had to take that dress code matter to the High Court. I had to put the registration office in High Court
Mhm.
a few years ago. And as a result in doing that, they wouldn't want to give Colin Roach the credit because he's a rebel, but no problem. I just
Mhm.
wanted it done. Eventually, they started to ease up on this whole dress code situation about a shirt on the outside of a pants and all that kind of
Mhm.
nonsense. They started to ease up on that. I continued to be rebellious where that was concerned, and they finally issued the memorandum where this restrictive dress code must come to an end. And so they asked these offices to re-evaluate that dress code system. Again, the registration office has not done that.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Because I would come there sometimes and I would see certain and hear certain security officers telling the person putting the shirt tail. The person dressed decent, but you're telling them putting the shirt tail. For what? It's ridiculous. I want to bring awareness to another thing. Another important thing I want to bring awareness to. At the magistrates' courts, I am familiar with 2 or more individuals who have matters at the magistrates' court. And the police prosecution for 2 years or more delaying some of these matters. The magistrate continuously continuously gives them adjournments to resolve them. They will return to court, it never gets resolved. The defendant who the police might have put in court, that defendant is requesting no case submission or to dismiss the case for warrant of prosecution, and the magistrate stalling.
Why do you think that because I hear of that a lot since I've been here? Why do you think that is happening? What's your opinion?
That is happening because we, as the people, we are not getting out there and making sufficient noise. Okay, and I'm not talking about being rowdy and ridiculous and so on. I'm talking about going out there and presenting our case to the public the correct way, like with the demonstration that I am suggesting that we all and
what date? What is the date? What is the proposed date for this?
Great question. Now, here's what I would like, as I had expressed on the post. I would like 10 or more individuals who have cases as to what we are speaking about right now to give me their names in my Facebook inbox as late as Sunday coming, so that during the week we could hold a Zoom meeting and properly discuss and structure the demonstration. I don't want it to be haphazard. I want everybody to have an opportunity to prepare themselves, prepare their placards, get any necessary paperwork that they need to get together, because I would like for each individual who has an issue, if we do have the opportunity to speak, I want them to speak about their own thing. I just want the demonstration to come about so that people will have an opportunity to speak.
What about could I just jump in and ask, what about the what you call the expats or the foreigners, as people in Barbados will call them? What about the foreigners that live in abroad, British Americans who may not be able to come to the demonstration?
That is a great.
But also wants to join the Zoom meeting to show their solidarity or to share their experience.
They can join the Zoom meeting because that is going to be published, like how Marcia Weeks and Emmanuel would publish the links, the dates and time and so on. All of that will be published online on social media for any Barbadian who have both home and abroad who has issues. Come and say something. We have a lady also in the chat right now. Her and her husband established a type of a register for individuals to get in contact with them and build a file on these issues, because we need to have something to show. We can't just keep talking on Facebook all the time.
Correct. I agree with you.
People that have the grievances together, and we need to get their paperwork together. We're going to have the press. I'm going to invite the press as well. Okay. And if possible, we would like to do it live so that people can see what is happening.
Right. Can't hear you, Master.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Do you have a date for your for the Zoom meeting?
Well, this is the thing now. That is what I want to discuss with the parties that want to be involved in the demonstration. I could give a tentative date for a Zoom meeting on air right now, yes, but I wanted to have a conversation with individuals first, and let us, plan a proper date.
The thing is, the thing is, I mean, this is very, very serious. I mean, you're talking about estate files that are missing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
then people are not able to properly continue their cases, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the dress code issue that we need a more, because there has been some reform, but you're thinking the reform needs to be deeper. We need to be more comprehensive.
The reform is not the reform is not recorded. The reform is not on paper. That's the thing. The reform is not on paper. You make reforms, you gotta have it documented. Because if I come and I make a claim, I make a case, and then you ask me, well, where's the paperwork? I don't have it to show. It's not good.
Right.
We have a caller, Marcia, coming in from my end. Let's see if this could work, if we could get her coming through your end as well. So go ahead, caller. Good afternoon. What's going on? It's a bit low. Go on, let's try that again. Go ahead. Good afternoon. Can you all hear?
No, not hearing.
Okay, let's try that again. Go ahead, caller.
I can hear you. Hi, good afternoon to the panel.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay, go ahead, speak.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, you go ahead, speak.
Panel?
Yeah, they can hear you speak.
Yes, hi, Mr. Roach.
Hello.
This is Patricia Benedict.
Hi, Miss Patricia Benedict.
Yes, hi. I have quite a few. I want to ask you some questions, very, very important questions.
Mm-hmm.
I went to court yesterday in Whole Town, and I have a case with an officer assaulting me that it wasn't before, but because certain individuals have sit down to monitor the proceedings, the magistrate called the case. They mentioned the person's name, but because the officer wasn't there, and he said it's been sending down to the Supreme Court. Now, I've had several issues with that magistrate, and in court yesterday, I said quite a few things to him, saying that he needed a mental evaluation and how he is corrupt and how he's frustrating. He has frustrated me for too long. And I had to say to him, the government sent on to dismiss my case. And he said in front of the official that was sent, oh, I was the one who dismissed it. And I corrected him. I said, no, because you said to me that you would have made me come to court for 3 years. Right? Mm-hmm. So my issue is that can it be sent, that case? Because I asked him, I said, I will go all out to have you fired. I said so in front of the official. I have never held my mouth when it came to him.
Right.
So he is telling me I am lucky, but I didn't pick up on it. And when I'm thinking about it now, I'm thinking about it now. I was asking if it was a threat.
Listen.
Because that official was there.
Hold on,
Miss Benedict.
Hold on, Miss Benedict. Let Mr. Roach come in. Go ahead, Mr. Roach. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to do is to applaud the caller, Miss Benedict, for the work that she actually is doing, right? She's not getting paid for what she's doing. As a matter of fact, just like myself, she gets beat up for representing the public. Okay? And so I want to commend her, first of all, for the reporting that she does through 246 Bajan Vibes Radio. Now, one of the things that I learned is the first thing that we should always have is a recorded grievance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing you need. If I come up to you and I complain to you about something, you're going to ask me, well, did you file a complaint? I'm going to say no. Well, the process has not even started yet. You need to have a written complaint established first and foremost, requesting a response. With that, then you can move forward to the next step. If you're not getting any hearing, you can do like what we plan to do, hold a demonstration or take the individual to the courts. Now, there's an issue when it comes to the courts. It is established that Mr. Errol Walton-Barrow, the Honorable Errol Walton-Barrow, says, if you need justice, stay out of Barbados courts. Well, that has an interpretation to it because he was an attorney and he had to go before the courts. So clearly, he could not mean don't ever go to the courts. It couldn't mean that. You go to the courts, you have to follow up on your case. You should not just let the attorney just do and you don't check up on it because attorneys have other cases as well. You need to be proactive to follow up on your case. Yes. So the first thing we need is a grievance or a complaint against the public service officer or individual or entity, and then you take it from there. In Miss Benedict's situation right now, Miss Benedict is one of those individuals that can make a great impact if she becomes a part of the demonstration that we have coming up, which she said that she would partake in it because she has a lot to say as well. There's another individual who has made herself known online, Jacqueline Aline. She also has issues with the courts, the way how the magistrates are operating, the way how the police prosecutions are operating, and the registrar is responsible for the courts. The registrar is responsible, the registration office is responsible for the courts. Okay. Now I want to say something very important. The new registrar, most people know me, I am very hard, okay, on that office. Very hard. But I will say this. The new registrar that they have now at this point in time, since she has taken office, her name is Sharon Dean. Since she has taken office, I had 3 meetings with her. That is a phenomenon because it doesn't happen. She answers the phone. That too is a phenomenon because that don't happen. She invites you into the office. Her door is literally open. That doesn't happen. And she just came on board. So I am saying that and she is pleasant. This registrar already possess a natural disposition about her to be pleasant, to be courteous, to be welcoming, and to be accommodating. That is natural. Many of us have it. But the operation is what I'm concerned about. Okay? Some say that when a person just comes into office, you need to give them an opportunity to see what's going on and make wrong things right. I totally agree with that. I was in that position before. But I had 3 meetings with Registrar Acting Sharon Dean. I presented my evidence, my complaints. Okay? And so far, those grievances that I have not been addressed. They have not been resolved. So even though the registrar, in my opinion, seems to be the registrar that should be the registrar to make things happen, I am saying that she entered that office with a culture that has already permeated inside of there.
Right.
And she's going to have to make a decision. Either she wants friends in that registration office, or she is going to be there to do her job, which is to make sure that the needs of the public are well facilitated. Okay, so I am not. That is why I'm using the phrase the registrar or the registration office, because I can put my hands on individual registrars who were, in my opinion, not doing what they were supposed to do. For example, Michelle Johnson, she was the last registrar, but she's on leave now. Complaints I had before her, she never did anything. Okay, the registrar before her, who is a acting judge now, Miss Barbara Cook Aline, she was the registrar there, acting registrar, and then became appointed, but she never did anything either to resolve the issues of the public. All the satisfaction went to attorneys or certain officials who had grievances, and they got theirs resolved. No problem. You should be resolving them. But what about Jane Doe and John Doe that goes into that office, has an issue, consistent issues, file consistent complaints, and never got a hearing? Never got a hearing. So the registrar or the registration office, the person in charge of the registration office, that person is not resolving the grievances of many of the private citizens like myself, like Miss Valerie Suzette, like Jacqueline Aline, Miss Benedict. It's not happening. This demonstration, we have to bring some awareness, starting with this demonstration. First, make sure you have a grievance. If you have a complaint, write your complaint and have it filed.
I do believe Miss Benedict got one more question to ask you, Mr. Roach, and then pass back.
Yes, Mr. Roach. I have one or two concerning my cases, which is very important. I speak to you. My case was the case that was dismissed against me on the 25th of February 2022. What should I ask a magistrate to give to me? Because he's refusing to make me go forward in having people criminally charged and take legal action against people.
That's another issue. Yes, that's another issue too.
How the case was dismissed. Can I have something in writing? What do I need so that I could go forward in having those people who did me wrong brought to justice?
Okay, the people that did you wrong, you're talking about physically?
Well, no. The case, okay, yeah, well, yes. Well, a case was dismissed where the wrongfully had me arrested and put me through a law court. Through it's a long story, but
okay,
it was maliciously prosecuted.
Right.
But the magistrate is I could say so, it's so corrupt that.
But wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let me ask you this.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Miss Benedict. Let me ask you this. The case got dismissed against you, correct? Okay. Now, again, these files are all public files, and you have a right to access to that file. And you make a request to the clerk of the court, as well as to the judge and the registrar. You understand? First, let me put it in chronological order. Actually, you should address it to the registrar, requesting copies of that file to the registrar, to the magistrate, and to the clerk of the court. So all three of those titles are going to be on the paper, and you are going to put down the file name, file number XYZ, and the names of the parties, Benedict versus who, or the Queen versus who, or the State of Barbados versus who, and you're requesting copies of that file. You make it in duplicate. You go to the registration office and you submit it to the registrar's secretary. The secretary would stamp one of those as received and give that back to you. That is your evidence that you submitted a request. You're going to take that is stamped. You're going to take that one that is stamped, and you're going to make a copy of that. And you're going to go to the magistrate's court where you had the case, and you are going to present that to the clerk of the court, and they are going to sign that as being received as well. Now you're going to give them a certain amount of days, obviously, to address that. And if they do not address that, well then the next step will have to be taken back to the registrar. But this time you're going to the registrar now, and you'll be making that making that claim to the registrar that if it is not addressed, you're gonna have to take it to the courts. This is what Barbadians have to start doing. Regular Barbadians. That is why Britain, the United States, Canada, that is why those places, when it comes to the regular citizens, the state and the municipalities and the county offices and so on, they just have to be very careful, because those individuals have become aware now of their constitutional rights. Right. They are aware of the common law jurisdiction that they live under, and that they have a right to put any individual in court, whether it's the prime minister, the president, or else.
But Mr. Roach,
yes, please.
A lot of people in Barbados don't seem to understand that the law that is running through Barbados right now comes from Britain, right? And they need to understand, they need to comprehend that the law here stems down there. Is no change just yet. There hasn't been change yet. You understand me?
Right. You're absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
Many of our decisions are based off of either UK jurisdiction or Australian.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the same thing. If you know, pretty much the same thing. Yeah. And so, with respect to Miss Benedict, what I would do if I was in her position, because this is another thing that I am very clear about. I am not an attorney at law, but the law is not there for attorneys at law. The law is there for the country. And you as an individual, if you so choose to, you need to learn the laws of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you need. If you're going to go into a situation, you need to know the statute that governs that, and if you can find any cases on the matters, you read them, because decisions of the court stands in law. You understand? That's very important. So when I speak to individuals, I let them know I am going to tell you what I would do if I was in your position and what the law states. I'm not giving you any advice, because naturally speaking, if you give some person advice, just normal, common, and something goes wrong, they say, man, Shimo, give me this advice, man. I take your advice and look what happened. I don't want all that. There are laws that are on the books. I can show it to you. This is what the law says. Now I'm going to tell you what I would do if I was in your position, and that's how I operate. So if I was in Benedict's position, I would file a request to the registrar, and I would copy the magistrate that I was before and the clerk of the court. And I would make sure that all three of them have copies. I would have my own copy. I'm not going to give them a date, amount of days to have it available. I am requesting it. I am going to submit it. You're going to have information. You're going to have contact information to get back to me. Yes, email address, telephone number, the whole 9 yards. I am going to make the decision now. Me, if within 3 days to 5 days I haven't heard anything, I am going to the registrar. I'm not going to the magistrate court. I'm not going to the clerk. I'm going to the registrar, because the registrar is responsible for the courts. I am saying, just like the permanent secretaries in Barbados, no one is making the permanent secretaries responsible. Everybody goes to the minister or the member of parliament. They don't work in those positions for life. They got 5 years. They are not guaranteed another 5 years. But the permanent secretary and the deputy permanent secretary, that's their job. They've been there for 25 years. No one puts them in the hot seat. Same situation here. No one puts the registration office in the hot seat.
No, the question is, Mr. Roach, because we have just a minute left. You know, you know, Sugar D, I'm here thinking, how do we mobilize? I'm listening to all of this. And you know, it's one thing to have a show and we're here talking, is how do we mobilize Barbadians who for some reason they have, you know, these things don't matter to them. Crop over is coming up and so on. Well, how do we mobilize them to get on the streets and to join this protest? That's what my concern is. How do they get their voices heard? And we have a minute. We have 1 minute. How is this going to happen?
All right. What I am going to do now that we had this broadcast, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get up with Mr. Winston, and we're going to put together a flyer, and we're going to advertise it. We're going to advertise it. Wednesday night, I'm going to post it today. Wednesday night, we're going to have a Zoom meeting. Anybody that wants to come on can come on. I'm going to post it, a Zoom meeting for Wednesday night. So everybody's going to know in advance that there's going to be a Zoom meeting. We come on board and we have a discussion and we plan out the date that we are going to request. Because I haven't chosen the date yet. I need to have conversations with the parties that are going to be involved because they need to be able to be there. So I want everyone to come to an understanding, or the majority of us to come to an understanding as to what date we should be requesting for this demonstration.
So let me ask you something. So the protest is also open to persons who might not have an issue with the registrar or with the magistrate's court, or it's open to the general public?
Yes, if they want to come and support those of us who have these issues and believe that, you know,
so you're looking for support. So we should be looking to find out when the date is so that we can come down to support in your body.
Right,
guys. Right. You need bodies there, because I said too often, Sugar D, you're in the UK, but I can tell you what happened. People will be planning these things, and people are saying yeah on Facebook, and when you go to the actual protest, you look behind you, there's nobody there to support you. You know. So as we close, Sugar D, what's your final thoughts on this?
My final thoughts is, one, I don't know if can you all hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
My final thoughts is basically, I would like Barbados, it is too long that Barbados being so docile. We need to get up. We need to stand up now. It doesn't mean that I played a song on Thursday night by Gabby. The people will wake up. It's too long that we have been lying asleep. Or what I will, we need to start acting. And it doesn't no violence have to be involved. Your voice, right? And I say this to say what I'm gonna say next. I said to Mr. Rejok this morning, the world is looking at Barbados. The world is looking at the Prime Minister, who is glorified. If enough Barbadians get up, and I'm saying this now, if enough Barbadians get up and move towards the parliament and say, we had enough of this. We need to get our things back. We need to get our lives back. We need to get everything. But the world is going to say, hang on a minute, madam. You're an embarrassment to the country. You're an embarrassment to us because we got you on high echelons. You need to fix this or we have no more dealings with you. And there's nobody can tell me, if you watch gangster movie, all the gangster movies, when there's corrupt people involved, they tend to move them up if they don't put wrong things right. So all I'm saying, I am saying this to the Barbadian people, there don't have to be no violence involved. Your voice, remember, you have put that party in for 5 years. By literally walking and sounding your voice, you are not happy with what you're doing, with what that is being happening. That 5 years can be 5 months left, because the powers that be now that are supporting her will say, you know what, you are embarrassing me. I think we got another call. I think Marcy, we got to go over time. We got another caller coming in live.
Yes, right? Go ahead.
Go ahead, caller. Good afternoon to you. Hello, good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Not too bad. You're live to 246 and the debate.
Yes, sorry, I didn't. I wanted to call you personally, but I'll do that after you finish.
All right, okay, then thanks. All right. Let me get back to what I was saying then. I was saying, if the people of Barbados, and it goes for any Caribbean country, if the people of Barbados do this, right, it will. She has to literally say, you know what, enough is enough. I am because remember, I don't know, I was watching the election. It says, we care, but care for what? Show me and show the people of Barbados that you care enough to do something about what is going on.
Yeah.
So the people have to stop talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah. You know, listen. You know, Sugar. I listened to one of your programs that was published, and they were talking about the Kingston estate matter. And the lady Marjorie Knox and Kathleen Dean. You know that since that decision came down against Barbados and the government officials and stuff like that, you know that there has never been a discussion at all about that.
Wow.
Never, ever, ever.
Why is that?
You know, because the public, the public, we didn't bring it up. Because it's only obvious that they are not going to bring it up because it is a judgment against them. And I believe, it's just me personally, I believe that is the reason why certain individuals are facing the courts. Because that is a bad image that is set in the international arena.
Correct.
And in order to correct that, you're going to have to start penalizing some of these same officials that court system over there say are corrupt. That's just my opinion. Nobody talks about it. And nobody talks about it because we, the public, don't bring it up.
But you know, it is my hope that when we'll see a change with this, and that people will come out. I don't know what else to do. I wasn't born here. I honestly don't understand it. You know, and so I will try and make sure that once the protest is going on, I go to all the protests. You know, whether it's one person or two, I'm going to, unless I'm teaching. It has to be that I'm at work and I can't get out of work. But when I have work, I try to find a substitute teacher, and I am on the streets. But the average Barbadian is not interested, and I'm really. You know, I pause. I mean, sometimes I say, what's the use? Because I don't see anything. But it's 1:07, and by 1:10, we're going to have to finish. But
okay, I want to say this. You just showed something here by a person called Giles. You see that comment? That comment is very important. The person says, need to have a curriculum teaching citizens' rights, human rights, law of the land. Why do they? In other words, she's asking why they don't teach this in primary schools and secondary schools. That's another thing too. We need to start advocating for civics to be taught in the schools. Because the regular, what they call the average person, again, we learn these things growing up, as youngsters growing up, but they don't teach it anymore. They don't teach it anymore. And so there's a reason for not teaching it, obviously.
Yeah, and it's right throughout the Caribbean, because we used to have civics in Jamaica as well, and it's no longer on the curriculum, and we don't know, you know, what is what. So, guys, listen now. This is very, very important. I think it's important, and I will be there. Sugar D, I can tell you. Once I'm, you know, I'm not working. And I can't find a substitute. The only reason if somebody can't do the work for me, why I would not be out there at the protest. Okay. So you know, I'm gonna do my best to be there. Sugar D, your final words, and we really have to close at 1:10. I know you probably can continue it you know, on your show. Go ahead, Sugar D.
Well, all I will say, knowledge is power. Those who withheld knowledge or withholding knowledge from people, eventually when the knowledge get to the people, there's going to be hell to pay. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and believe you me, we got to get the power back by knowledge. So basically, education is the key.
Yes, education. Well, that's a good note to end on. And I saw Mr. Roach was doing a lot of education here today. I was writing, and people were saying this is good information. So thank you, Mr. Roach, and I thank you for the initiative. And I'm hoping that my adopted country, my fellow Bajans, would rise up and to get out there and to really make their voices heard. Very important that we do that and join Mr. Roach and everybody else on that walk, that
Thank you
will
so
be
very
held
much.
very, very, very soon. And it's a joy to be a part of the 246 Beige and Vibes family.
Yes.
Sugar D, and this has been a wonderful broadcast about the father's rights. And here we're talking about the people's rights.
That's it.
And it's all about rights. So thank you all for watching. And I'm going to see you later next on Wednesday, actually at 1 p.m. AST for that second edition. It's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay. All right. God bless you all.
Take care,
And
everybody.
we're going to continue with 246 Beige and Vibes. Continue, right, Sugar D?
Yes, I will. I will be continuing, and you will get your recording within the hour. So you'll get a recording of both shows within the hour.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Sugar D, for the great work that you are doing there in UK. And we ask people to go and subscribe to the channel, find the website, and click on that and become a follower, and so that you can get the broadcast for 246 Beige and Vibes, which is going to continue right up until the rest of the evening. God bless you all. Bye-bye, and see you on Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.